Good afternoon. I'm Attorney Gerald Christmas. I'm here representing the Coalition for Justice for Mike Brown and the committee to elect Zaki Baruti county executive. We know the county executive race just passed yesterday. It was a very close race, but we still have to move forward with how we're going to deal with the citizens of St. Louis County and how we're going to bring the entire city together. And Zaki Baruti, who was a write-in candidate for county executive, would like to make a few comments regarding his candidacy and what he would like to see happen in the future as far as St. Louis County is concerned. So without further ado, I introduce our candidate, Zaki Baruti.
All right. First of all, let me thank the press that has shown for today, as well as I'd like to thank Brother Gerald Christmas, who's been a very strong brother who is an attorney representing our people, as well as I want to just congratulate or thank first and foremost those who supported the candidacy. And as you already know, we in a short span of 22 days was able to generate nearly 4,000 signatures as a write-in candidate, and we do not know how many may have been invalid in terms of maybe not spelling my name correctly or not going through the process correctly. So to that end, we'll call this press conference together. First of all, we just want to congratulate the winner, Steve Stenger. Even though the election result shows that the community is still very divided, however, as Brother Gerald Christmas mentioned, we must move forward. And in the spirit of one of the chief organizers of the Justice for Michael Brown Leadership Coalition, out of which my candidacy was born, because we being on the forefront of fighting for some justice, took it from the streets to the polls. And it's in that spirit that we're calling this press conference. And we're calling it because in light of the fact that a decision would be coming forth in terms of the grand jury decision around Darren Wilson, we feel that there has to be some serious dialogue to deal with that particular case and its impact on the community. So I want to just say publicly that we will be asking as a coalition with a sit-down meeting with Steve Stenger to discuss how do we move forward to bridge the kinds of division that's in our community in terms of bringing St. Louis County together. We also, and in that meeting, we want to lay out our concerns and see how he responds to it, because we want to make it known that we will not just fade into oblivion, but we will stay on the case as it relates to the struggle for justice for our people. Last but not least, we are also calling for Charlie Dooley, who will be stepping down in a short time, to sign a disparity study that's been sitting on his desk for a period of time. And so to that end, we will also be asking for a meeting with him prior to him leaving office to see the status of that particular disparity study. Because as many of you know, in terms of my campaign, it was a campaign waged around justice, social justice, as well as economic justice, and to bridge the divide in the community. The next county executive, Steve Stenger, needs to address those concerns that we have as it relates to the disposition or the dispensing of county dollars in contractual forms. So it's so with that, we just wanted to again reemphasize we're congratulating Steve Stenger. We want to again emphasize that we will be publicly asking for a meeting with him and to discuss moving forward in terms of dealing with bridging the divisions that occur in St. Louis County. So at that point, I'll just take some questions from the press.
Have you had any meetings with Mr. Stenger prior to this?
No, we have not had any meetings prior to this. As you know, at one county council meeting, which we will, as a coalition, begin to encourage citizens to attend in greater number each of the county council meetings. But at one county council meeting, as you probably already remember, we had a number of people on hand. But at that point, because of the anger in the community, we were calling for Steve Stenger to distance himself from Bob McCullough, which of course he didn't, and which was one of the motivating factors as to why I entered as a write-in candidate.
Okay, I have a question concerning the relationship that Stenger has with McCullough. Are you going to be having a conversation with him in relationship to Darren Wilson and after if it's an indictment or not?
Well, that's, as I mentioned, as a collective, we plan on sitting and asking, moving forward as it relates to once the once the decision comes forward, what would be his position in terms of handling the kind of tension that has been built up as a result of the death of Michael Brown and the case that has gone to the grand jury.
Okay, thank you.
Can you elaborate on the disparity study that you mentioned, on what that is?
Okay, the disparity study, and we had one of our consultants that's not here that we expect him here in a minute. Prior to the letting of contracts from government, and in this instance, St. Louis County government, there's normally a study as to whether or not dollars are being appropriated to black and minority contractors, and to begin to establish goals as it relates to both contractual services and hiring services. And so there was a disparity study done, as I understand, and it's just been sitting on Charlie Dooley's desk, and we're calling for him to sign that disparity study. So that is in preparation for the upcoming fiscal year as it relates to the county letting of contracts, as I mentioned. Okay. Any other questions? Oh,
I'm sorry, just one more.
Okay.
What do you think Mr. Stenger could learn if he would sit down and talk with you?
he would learn, that's a great question. He would learn that there's great frustration in the black community around a number of issues. First, around the lack of employment opportunities for young black males. He would learn that the educational system in many instances is failing our young people. He would learn from sitting down with us that our young people, as well as adults, as personified by the yearly study that's mandated by the Missouri General Assembly, that the state attorney to collect data as to whether or not black motorists are targeted racially on the highways of St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and throughout the state, and that occurs every year without any kind of penalties to those municipalities for that practice. He would find out that many citizens are dissatisfied with who actually patrol the community, because many times the people who patrol their communities do not look like the people who pay those same officers who patrol our community their salaries. So it's in that spirit that he would learn from us a history lesson that even though we are supposed to be in post-racial America, we still have some serious racial issues. And we would hope that given the climate, that he rise above the divisions and do as some of his commercials have advertised, that he would begin a process of trying to heal our community. Okay.
Do you expect, if the grand jury does come back with no indictment, do you expect that the protests will, I mean, everyone's assuming there will be protests, do you expect that they'll remain peaceful or escalate to the levels?
Well, I cannot speak to what will happen. All I do know is that there is some extreme frustration among a number of young people. And of course, as elders of our community, we would pray that nobody gets in harm's way, and that's what we would be encouraging our people. But the struggle for justice, because we feel that there has been an injustice with the death of Michael Brown, with the the situation where he was shot over 6 times, with a number of witnesses that said that he had his hand up, that if that verdict comes back, there is no charges, then I'm sure people would be outraged. And that form of how they respond, it depends on the individuals.
Is there a message that you'd want to send to them?
My
as a
message is that people need to be organized in their response. Our message is that we need to consider some serious economic sanctions. My message would be that we need to continue to acts of civil disobedience within the confines of peaceful civil disobedience, but we do need to continue to express our outrage, because Michael Brown could easily be my grandson or my son or the grandsons and sons of the people that's sitting with us today. Any other questions? Okay then, with no other questions, we again want to thank you for being in attendance. All right.